Sometimes talking with friends feels like role-playing. Sometimes it feels like combat. Join us at the Round Table and Roll Initiative. This is Curmudgeons and Dragons.
Hello, adventurers! Welcome to Curmudgeons and Dragons. My name is Jason Portizo. Today, I am joined by Mr. Jim Crocker.
Hey, how we doing?
Jim, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing pretty good. I start a brand new job next week. I got a library job. So
Coming out of retirement, huh?
Yes,
Good
yeah.
to keep you away.
Using my bookstore skills in the service of the greater good. That's what we're looking to do.
All right. Is it a library job?
It is a library job. Yes, yeah.
It is a library. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's at the Montclair Public Library here in northern New Jersey.
Awesome.
I'll be working like 18, 20 hours a week, something like that. Nice part-time job to kind of fill in, get me out of the house and on my feet,
Yes.
which is something that have been, it is both something I need to do and something that has been requested of me. So.
Yes. I was just going to say, that sounds like Shannon's idea. Good, man. It's nice to have. I wonder what it's like to have a job. 'Cause I have like 7. I'm not really, I literally don't know. I don't know how to count my jobs. Let's put it that way. Because technically, a few of them all fall under one umbrella, but they all feel like very separate things. So,
would you feel better if I said I got another job? That would be.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
And now you're up to one.
Well, one outside the house job. I do I do all of our inside the house stuff. So that counts as a job.
Good.
We value domestic work these days, Jay.
Also, I keep you very busy writing our show notes. So
yes, there's that too.
So thank you for your. I ain't paying you though, but
Well, I was going to say this is a job I'm actually going to get paid for. So yeah.
Oh, is that how we count jobs? Okay, then I have like one. All right.
I guess there's jobs and there's gigs. So yeah.
Yes. Gigs I got no problem getting. But so today, so it's just us DM boys here.
Yeah.
Josie's in the, you can tell when it's like the middle of a school season when Josie has to take a few episodes off.
Yes, it's exam time.
Yes. I am recording with her tomorrow, so she's not gone. She won't be gone for long, but she will be gone today, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I mean, and she's actually a decent student. So she actually studies and stuff. That's,
I know, it's weird.
I wouldn't have skipped a podcast just to, study for a test or anything like that.
No, God, no, never.
Yeah.
She's the opposite. As a student, she's the total opposite as she is as a player. So all the shenanigans of her in a D&D game, just like she gets it all out there. And then for the stuff that matters. No,
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That firewall is important to being a functional human being. So,
which is the opposite of how I did school. And that's why I don't have a degree. Mm-hmm. But luckily I got good at things that don't need degrees. So lucky me. Anyway, just us DM boys today. So I had an idea to kind of take the show a little back to before we took that little break over the winter when we were doing actual substantial content and not just reading stories over and over again. Listen, I love doing the stories. Yeah. I think they are as far as our listener engagement and stuff, they're the most entertaining. I listen to them a couple times just to I have to listen to them to make sure they sound good, but I enjoy listening to them a couple of times to make sure they sound good. But these are things we used to do a lot more of, where we're trying to get into kind of teaching people something about the game. So I had us write up a few little BuzzFeed style listicle 2007 internet just little things, little lists about the game. And so I got mine. We'll do that on the next episode, and Jim's got a couple here, so we're gonna dive in. Jim, what is the listicle we're gonna do today?
Well, the first one we're going to do is one that you actually asked me about because you thought I might have an insight or two that maybe might be helpful to you. And this is top 5 session prep steps. And
excellent.
Yes. And if
someone's going to learn something on the show, it might as well be me.
Ideally, hopefully you and maybe whoever else that would be good. But I have ordered these in terms of, in completely my opinion, worth exactly what you paid for it, order of if you only have time to do one, do this first one. If you only have time to do two, do these first two. So kind of in order of what you got time to do, in my opinion, and we can discuss about why I think they should be in this order and, and that sort of thing once we get them out.
All right. With that out of the way, let's get into the list.
All right, here we go. So the first one that I have on the list, number 1, top 5 session prep steps. Go over your notes from last session. If you can only do one thing, this is the thing that I advise you to do. However you're keeping track, whether it's a handwritten bullet list or a more thorough campaign diary that you keep, or a player volunteer that is your scribe that, or like if you have a shared Google Doc where everybody puts notes in and that's how you build your session notes. However you do that, a video or audio recording. If you're keeping track of the transcript on Zoom and that's what you use to build your notes if you've got an online session, if you only have time for one thing, do that. I would say that you don't need more than like 10 or 15 minutes maximum, but going over notes from your last session is your first and best way to get ready for today's session. Even if you're running a one-shot, which I know you do a lot in the store, Jay, you run one-shots. What you can do with that, you should still be taking notes for when you're doing your one-shots. Maybe not so much, here's what the characters did, but here's what you did as a DM that worked. Here's what you did as a DM that didn't. And then you can go back over those. You can find pain points in your one shot where players had trouble or where they just bulldozed it and maybe you need to toughen it up a little. Especially if it's a repeat for a new audience, going back over those notes, most important thing you can do, I think, before you do anything else, including any other kind of prep for the actual session you're going to run.
Yeah. So this seems like, bar for entry type of stuff, and where you should at least be refreshing yourself on what happened last time. So, but it is good to have it like, yeah, of course I need to do that. I've used almost all of these methods for the couple of games that we've been playing.
Sure.
And of course, our playing method has changed a lot in the past year and a half. Not only going from like full lockdown mode into now we're playing in person at my house.
Yep.
But we went from playing over, we just kept trying things that just kept either working or not working, or things that might just work for our particular group better because we do know each other IRL. So we were using Roll20 for the map, and then we're using Albert Rodeo, and then we're using just going over Zoom, and then just Discord for a little while, using some bots in there. Then we landed on Zoom, back on Zoom for a while because I got one particular app for Zoom, which I'll talk about in a second. And then once our schedule started lining up a little bit, now we're back to playing in person, which means I got to change how I do my notes again.
Sure.
But and my handwriting is god awful, god awful. Josie's unbelievable. So she takes notes when we play, but I'm much more a Google Doc type of guy.
Sure.
Just a unfiltered just mashup of notes that hopefully I know where important things are.
Yeah.
Making good use of that highlight feature and trying to go over it when I'm done, because a lot of those notes didn't mean anything.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's actual like when you're playing type stuff. How do you take notes and stuff like that? However you do that, I'm just kind of setting that aside. I'm ecumenical on that at the moment. Sure. Other than to say you should have some kind of notes over what happened in every session. First thing you do to prep for the next session, go over what you did in the previous session. So that is the most important thing as far as I'm concerned. If you've only got 10 minutes to prep for your session, devote it to going back over your notes from the last session. Number 2 is the obvious one, but it is a thing that folks don't necessarily do. Take a look at today's adventure, whether it's a published module or your homebrew adventure that you've written up yourself. The next best thing to do after going over last week is to read a few pages ahead to cover the areas the party might visit and the monsters they might encounter. You don't need to do a deep read. You don't have to, sit down and very carefully go over it with a fine-tooth comb, but knowing what routes they can take and what encounters they might run into will help keep you from being taken by surprise. And that's the important thing. Sometimes people will like read the module once at the beginning and then sit down and run it thinking that they know it. And this is where you can run into problems where you're like, oh my God, I completely forgot that there's that encounter with the bandits on the road. And I did not plan for that tonight at all. So just making sure you go back over that and just to make sure, oh, what if they said last time they were going to go right, but what if in the intervening week they've decided, no, maybe we should go left instead. You should kind of have an idea of the scope of what could happen in that evening and look ahead to make sure you know what's going on with it.
The other side of that is like, well, I guess the bandits are camped on the left side today.
I mean, you can certainly do that. I mean, tips about how to tweak your adventures on the fly that's also useful DM advice that we certainly can get into, but just making sure, but you can't do that unless you know what's going on. If they go left instead of right, but you know, oh, those bandits are on the right, I can just switch that over. That helps you deal with, not only does it help you deal when they do what you expect them to do, it's even more useful when they do what you don't. Did that make sense? When they do what you don't? Yeah, I guess it did.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
We got there. It reminds me, someone posted, it was, so you look off to the right, there's a castle in the distance. The players go, okay, I guess we're going to go left then. And then it's a cover of the Miyazaki film, Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
It's like, castle's over there now. All right.
Yeah. That's the illusion of choice thing we talk about sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Which, depending on how short your game's going to be, maybe this is all we have today. But in a longer game with a little more open story, that's super important. And this is the part where I have gotten myself used to running one shots, and now I'm being asked to run, quote unquote real games. And this is the part where I need to start stepping up, and take myself out of the 5-page printout and getting ready for day-to-day stuff. Where I'm going to be running games where I don't know everything that's going to happen. And that's where I'm struggling now. And by struggling, I mean, I haven't really tried yet.
Yeah.
But hopefully sooner than later.
And there's some kind of indie games, more loosey-goosey story games where you can sort of see to your pants it, but you can't really do that in 5e. You got to have encounters ready to go. You got to have some rough idea of where people are going to go and looking ahead to make sure that you're familiar with, especially if you're using a published module, what's going on. That's an important part of prep to make sure you're going to run a good game. So shall we move on to number 3?
What do you got?
All right. Set up your play space in advance. And this doesn't have to do with actual story stuff or reading the module. This is about the physical space that you're going to be having the game in. And I include your digital space with that. So if you're playing online... Oh, that
definitely counts.
Yeah. If you're playing online, you make sure that you have the graphics for maps that you're going to use. You make sure you have the tokens set aside in whatever tabletop you're going to use, that those are ready to go, that you're not... I have been in games where in the middle of the game, someone goes, oh, shit, I need lizard men. And they're, rooting around on their drive and making them into a token and stuff like that. Have all that stuff ready to go. And that'll be really helpful so that you're not spending time rooting around for them during the session. If you're playing in person, set up your battle mat, set up your dungeon tiles, set up your terrain, or at least have it off to the side so that when that encounter happens, you can, boom, just drop it right onto the table and you're ready to go, rather than fishing through your big tackle box full of minis, right, to find some orcs. Have those guys set aside and ready to go. They can be right there on the table as a preview, to give the players a look at what's coming, or you can have them behind the screen with you, or just, have a separate slot in your big minis case that is stuff I'm using this week. And at some point during the week, sort that all in there so you can just pluck them out and be ready to go. But basically, the less handling you need to do during the session, the quicker you can get right to a combat when it is time to do that. Because all of that handling of that physical stuff is something that can actually take up a lot of time if you're not ready to go.
I was looking at a couple of videos in the past week or so, looking for ways to have a more engaging tabletop experience, because these store games are going pretty well for me, and there's another DM there that's running stuff on like alternate weeks, and I have to win. I have I know it's not a super competitive game, but like I gotta win.
It's not a game as much as it's like a pageant, right? You want to, like you want to be the belle of the ball there. I get that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, so I was looking up ways on like how to spice up my game a little bit, and I found a couple of cool things. But prepping the minis was a big part of what these guys were doing. Most of them are playing at their home, and they have a whole room dedicated for it. And it's those kind of players that you really want to be part of their session, but maybe not married to these guys.
Sure,
because that's a whole wing. It's a whole wing of their house gone. But
you know what though? Like a lot of these, like a lot of folks I visit that are like that. Like one spouse has their room that has all their D&D stuff and shelves full of books and bins full of minis. But then you kind of go around the corner or down into the basement and you like look in the door and there's like, 1,500 skeins of yarn and, or like, dress patterns or something like that.
The plants room.
Exactly. Yeah. So if everybody's got their dedicated hobby space, then I think that works out best for everybody. So.
Yes, you can call that compromise. You can call that bargaining.
Just as long as everybody's on the same page.
Because I will happily build Kara her own library / corgi sanctuary, if I can get my game room. But prepping their minis and having them at the ready, all of them were kind of saying the same thing, where it's like, okay, you get your stuff ready for today, and a couple of decoys in there as well, so that they don't really know exactly what they're going up against. Because if they see you with a table full of little goblins and bandits, then like, all right, I guess doing goblins and bandits today. But if they see like 3 or 4 goblins, 2 or 3 bandits, a medium silver dragon, and a beholder, then they don't know what they're up against.
Yeah, there you go. And 4 and 5, there might be some argument about which order you do these, but I think 4 is more important than 5. And 4 is reread the player character sheets. It can be easy to take the PC's abilities and backgrounds for granted and start to rely fully on the players to keep track of all that stuff. But ideally, before every session, if you can, but if not, at least whenever they level up, take some time to go back and actually look over their full character sheets to remind yourself what class abilities they've got, what spells they've got, and what they can do that might either shortcut your encounters if you forget that somebody can fly or has access to, pass wall or something like that can just bypass a whole section of a encounter that you've set up. Know that that's a possibility and understand that they can do that. That's what going back over those sheets will help you do. And think about ways as you do that to work their background and history into the session. Whether you're wedging that into a published module somehow, or they're kind of trying to shoehorn it in, or you're using them to build out your homebrew world. If you've got homebrew and you're looking at that sheet as you're developing what you're going to do, that can really help in creating content that is tied to the characters and that engages them. But it can get very easy to get kind of laser focused on doing your thing and forget that it's important to keep track of where they're at, what they're doing. I know some DMs actually like to hold on to character sheets for players. Not every player loves that as a thing, but however you do it, you should always have access to their sheets and be able to look at them as they're updating them. And also just to make sure that nobody is misinterpreting the rules or, accidentally giving themselves bonuses that they're not entitled to, or, it completely slipped their mind that they can only attune to 3 magic items, that kind of thing. That also, keeping track of that in between and getting on that before it comes up in a session, also really helpful to running the game. That's another aspect of good prep, I think.
Yeah, and a lot of that assumes that it's fully pen and paper character sheets too, which I think is important for someone to do at some point, is to do all the math that goes into your character.
Or if you're playing online, if you're playing on Roll20, if you're using D&D Beyond, just make sure that you've got access to those sheets and that you're looking at them on the regular. and communicating with the players about anything you see that you don't understand or that you're unclear about.
I don't know if I have a witty retort for this one.
That's okay.
That sounds great, Jim.
Number 5, last but not least, and like I said, this may, depending on maybe even the nature of the particular session you're going to run that day, kind of be sort of interchangeable with number 4, but that is read up on monster tactics. Take a look at what the creatures you might be using in those encounters can do. Pull out your copies of the monsters know what they're doing, and the monsters still know what they're doing, and maybe something like, your Kobold Press Book of Lairs that has suggestions for running different versions of those monsters beyond the kind of bog standard monster manual approach to building encounters out. Jump onto DM Academy or a DMing Discord that you're part of to look for tips, ask for tips on how to effectively run those monsters so that they're challenging and fun. If you have tactics in mind in advance, or better yet, you write them up, write a little battle plan, just put it on an index card so that you can, or post it and just tack it to the inside of your DM screen that says they're going to go after this guy first and then do this, and here's their typical strategy. Or think in advance about the point at which they might decide the fight's not worth it anymore. That's the kind of stuff that if you are thinking about it in advance, it will, not only will it speed up play, but you won't get caught by surprise. Because a lot of the things that we see in DM Academy, and even some horror stories, are, I got neck deep in this encounter and realized I was over my head. And I encountered this situation. I had no idea what the monsters should do next. And I feel like I made the wrong decision. But if you have that in mind and are thinking about it in advance, you can adjust on the fly if those encounters turn out to be too easy and go too quickly, or too challenging and you get bogged down, or they're just starting to frustrate the players. So having some ideas about how to handle those situations in advance, super useful and, great prep.
Yeah, I mean, we show this book on a bunch of episodes now. The monsters know what they're doing. More of the monsters know what they're doing. He has one about lairs now, too.
Yes, that lair book is great,
I think it's called Defending Your Lair, which is about lair actions and like bringing monster terrain to life.
Yeah, Volo's Guide's great for that, too.
Volo's is good for it. Any number of Kobold Press books are good for that. Disappointing that those are all third-party books. Now that I'm thinking about it, well, a little disappointing. Get better, wizards.
Volo's isn't a third-party book. Volo's is decent.
Yeah.
Volo's is their first stab they did at doing something that was beyond just here's a block of stats and 2 paragraphs about what their personality is, but actually something about how they fit into the world.
Even though I said it out loud, I forgot I said it.
That's
so most of them are third party.
Yeah.
Get a little better, wizards. How about that? All right?
Yeah. Certainly the best of them are third party. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this is huge, and this is I don't know if I would. I might switch 4 and 5, but I agree that it's debatable.
Yeah.
I would say do 4 maybe on every level up, or maybe every couple of sessions.
Sure.
Rereading the character sheets and prepping your monster tactics while you're setting up your play space, or while you're preparing for today's adventure. It's like, okay, we're going up against kobolds today. Cool. Let me read up on their like pack tactics and gang warfare, that kind of stuff.
And that's also a thing where, like, if you know today is going to be a crypt full of zombies, followed by a crypt full of skeletons, followed by some ghouls, you don't necessarily need to read a lot of monster tactics on that. But if you're using, some kind of like weird demon type that you've never put down on the table before, that's the time where it might be more important to read up on that. Like I said, so that you're not caught by surprise, so that you're not in the middle of the fight looking down the sheet and go, oh, wait, they can teleport. Holy crap, I should have paid more attention to that. And
especially a monster that is more intelligent, too, like a beholder, something that's going to act a little bit more intentionally. Any dragon, anything vaguely human should have some sort of plan going into it. Where, like, your skeletons, zombies, and ghouls are be like, okay, well, how many attacks do I get?
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, this is huge. I think I don't mind it being lower on the list because you can kind of just do it once and just kind of keep that, or maybe throw the post-it notes in with the monster manual.
Mm-hmm.
So that you just kind of remind yourself and say, hey, they like to gang up on one enemy, or they like to split up, or anything else that Keith Amon tells you to do in his books.
Yeah.
But I will continue to show that book. It is that good and it's that important. I think he has a new one coming out too. I thought I saw something on the shelf I didn't recognize, but I think I have all his stuff now. All very good stuff, Jim. And it's a lot of like this is mostly just things DMs just all kind of do, but just having it as almost as a checklist.
Yep.
When you got a game coming up in 2 days,
mm-hmm.
let's just start working the list.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to, use your time properly.
Yeah, because it can get easy.
Or know how much time you need.
Yeah, because it can get easy to get into a rut, especially if you're like running a game every week at the same time, and you start to think, I don't need to prep. I'm running this every week, and that prep time can kind of get squeezed as you're doing other stuff, or your dinner runs a little later, or something like that. And so I think having a little bit of an order of operations of, oh crap, I've only got 5 minutes before people start arriving. What's the most important thing to do? In my opinion, it's roughly in that order. But we have listeners that can quibble with that or suggest things we haven't put there at all that they think might be more important.
Yeah. Like number 0, get your snacks ready.
Well, that's social stuff.
If you only have 2 minutes to prepare,
people.
If you only have 2 minutes to prepare, maybe throw those pizza rolls in the air fryer and have them ready to go.
Yeah, I suppose if you're a good DM, your players are bringing you snacks. So
if they're coming to your house, you can be a good host too.
I guess.
So, listen, we all bring snacks, and sometimes we eat them on top of our books.
I was gonna say, you sent me
drive Jim insane.
You sent me a picture of your game, and somebody had half a cake on top of their player's handbook. I mean, sorry, it was on a plate. Everybody, it was not literally a cake on the player's handbook. It was on a plate, but I just, that was
so. All right, so for some context here, one of my players took a picture of of our game, and I've got not a huge table, and there's only the DM and 3 players, and with everyone's DM screens and books and laptops and everything like that, space got pretty scarce pretty quick, and we're all adults with adult money, and we like to go in on our snacks. This table was more snacks than game. Like these guys went all out. The one guy especially, he's got half the guys at the table have kids, and so but Nick in particular, he just, when he can get out, gets out and goes all in. So he shows up with a bag full of gummy snacks, and he had a whole ass cake with him, which was amazing, by the way. And he takes a picture of our game just to be like, hey, look how much fun we're having, and throws it online. I realized there's a lot of snacks on this table, a lot of snacks on this table. So I throw the picture to our little Discord, and Jim's like, why is there a cake on the book? Because we ran out of table.
Why was there a cake on the book? Just the bookstore owner looks at that and says, why is there a cake on the book?
Because he had to put it down.
Yeah, okay.
The book, that's
all right.
He wasn't putting it on his laptop. You can wipe off a book.
At least he was eating it with a knife and fork. There we go.
Yeah. Like a pizza, right, Jim? Yeah. I didn't forget about that one. That's all we got for today. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We're going to put something, we might turn this into a little bit more of a blog article. We'll see if we feel like taking all the extra work that takes. So keep an eye on curmudgeonsanddragons.com, and we might put some of these up on there. But either way, we'll put the list in the show notes with some helpful links. Other than that, stay tuned for next episode. So I don't really have anything I don't have anything fun here. Go give us a follow on stuff. But if you're listening to us right now, you already did. So thanks, Jim.
You're very welcome. Interested to hear from anybody that has opinions on our list here.
let's do that one. That's our call to action today. So if you disagree with the list, or if you have things that you want to add, Curmudgeons and Dragons pod@gmail.com is our email. And that is Jim is Jim Crocker. If you want to send all your angry letters over, or your happy letters, I'll take either one.
That's cool. I can take it.
Cool. Now that's all I got. Thanks so much for listening, Jim. Thanks for hanging out.
You bet.
And thank you, adventurers.
Thank you for listening to Curmudgeons and Dragons. Please share this with your favorite adventurers. Leave a review on Apple and follow us on social media. All links can be found at curmudgeonsanddragons.com. Practice safe adventuring, my friends.